Over 2,000 years ago, long before the world was carved into the nations we know today, the Indian subcontinent witnessed the rise of one of history's greatest empires, the Mauryan Empire. This was a civilization of incredible vision, strategy, and power, and its story forever changed the course of South Asian history. Our story kicks off around 322 BCE. A brilliant and ambitious young man named Chandragupta Maurya, who came from humble beginnings, set his sights on the powerful Nanda Dynasty of Magadha. But he wasn't alone. By his side was his legendary mentor and advisor, Chanakya, a political mastermind also known as Kautilya. Together, they orchestrated the downfall of the Nandas, laying the groundwork for an empire that would, for the first time ever, unite most of the Indian subcontinent under a single banner. Chanakya, the genius behind this incredible rise to power, literally wrote the book on statecraft, the Arthashastra. This ancient text on politics, economics, and military strategy was so ahead of its time, it rivaled Machiavelli's works centuries before Machiavelli was even born. It was a complete guide for a ruler on how to govern effectively, using a shrewd mix of diplomacy, intelligence, and, when all else failed, decisive force. With the heartland of Magadha secured, Chandragupta's ambition grew. He turned his gaze westward, and around 305 BCE, he came face to face with Seleucus I, one of Alexander the Great's most powerful generals, who controlled vast territories in what is now northwest India. Instead of a prolonged, devastating war, these two titans of the ancient world chose peace. They forged a treaty sealed with an exchange of gifts, which famously included war elephants and a royal marriage alliance that bonded their dynasties. Before long, Chandragupta's empire was colossal, stretching from modern-day Afghanistan and Baluchistan in the west all the way to Bengal in the east, and from the towering Himalayas down to the Deccan Plateau. It was, without a doubt, one of the largest empires the Indian subcontinent had ever seen. What's even more impressive was its administration. The empire was divided into provinces, each managed by royal officials. It had dedicated ministries for everything from revenue and trade to justice and even public welfare, all operating under the emperor's direct supervision. A vast network of spies kept the emperor informed. A system of well-maintained roads connected the empire, and a massive standing army ensured peace and order across its immense territories. After Chandragupta's monumental reign, his son Bindusara took the throne. Historical records paint him as a very capable ruler who successfully continued his father's policies of expansion and effective governance. In fact, Greek sources gave him the intimidating title Amitrashates, which translates to the slayer of enemies. Under Bindusara's leadership, the empire enjoyed a period of stability and prosperity, perfectly setting the stage for the arrival of one of the most remarkable and influential rulers in all of world history, Ashoka the Great. When Ashoka ascended to the throne around 268 BCE, he inherited an already vast and powerful empire. But in his early years, he was driven by a thirst for conquest. His most significant military campaign was the brutal Kalinga War, a conflict that resulted in unimaginable bloodshed and loss of life. The sheer scale of the devastation horrified Ashoka. Haunted by the suffering he had caused, he underwent a profound and life-altering transformation. He renounced violence completely and embraced the peaceful teachings of Buddhism. For the rest of his life, he dedicated himself to promoting peace, compassionate governance, and moral principles. Under Ashoka's rule, the Mauryan Empire reached its absolute cultural and moral zenith. He wasn't just building an empire anymore. He was building a just society. He commissioned the construction of stupas, monasteries, and even hospitals. He championed education and environmental welfare. He sent Buddhist missionaries to spread the message of peace as far as Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, and even the Mediterranean. His famous edicts, carved onto rocks and pillars throughout his empire, are some of the earliest written moral codes in human history. They preached tolerance, kindness, and nonviolence, timeless principles that continue to inspire people across the globe today. The Mauryan state under Ashoka was a masterclass in effective governance. He appointed special officials, known as the Dhamma Mahamatras, to travel the empire and ensure his moral and administrative policies were being followed. The empire operated a sophisticated taxation system, regulated its thriving trade routes, and maintained diplomatic relations with distant kingdoms in Egypt, Greece, and the Hellenistic world. This era also saw a magnificent flourishing of art and architecture. Masterpieces from this period include the iconic lion capital of Ashoka from Sarnath, which is now India's national emblem, and the grand Ashokan pillars that still stand today, proud symbols of India's rich and ancient heritage. Sadly, all great empires eventually faced their end. After Ashoka's death around 232 BCE, the Mauryan Empire began a slow decline. His successors lacked his vision and his firm grip on power, and regional governors started to declare their independence. The empire also faced growing economic problems and threats from external invasions, all of which hastened its fall. By 185 BCE, the final chapter was written when the last Mauryan ruler, Brihadrata, was assassinated by his own general, Pushyamitra Shunga, who then founded a new dynasty. But even centuries after its collapse, the legacy of the Mauryan Empire lived on. It had created a blueprint for a unified India, introduced systems of governance that would inspire future empires, and was instrumental in spreading Buddhist philosophy across Asia, shaping cultures and civilizations far beyond its own borders. The Mauryan Empire was far more than just a political entity. It was a revolution in governance, philosophy, and human values. From the strategic genius of Chanakya and Chandragupta to the profound moral transformation of Ashoka, the Mauryas left the world with a timeless lesson that true greatness is found not just in power and conquest, but in compassion, wisdom, and unity. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, please hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from history. We'll see you in the next one.